What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Dr. Splash. I just worked on a major collab with a huge Mortal Kombat YouTuber. We talked about MK, as well as the crossover with DCKO, how we'd like to see that work out. Shout out to True Underdog Gaming. I'll be dropping that soon. I hope you guys go over and show his channel some support as well. He's so close to 500k subs, and he's trying to get there before 2026. Now, back on topic, right? I've been real busy. I'm sorry I haven't dropped last couple days. I got a buddy of mine. He's actually debuting in the UFC soon. If you don't know what that is, it's mixed martial arts. If I vlogged, promoted, did all that stuff, my buddy, going into this, and like I could vlog the fight camp, all that stuff, would you guys be interested? Would you guys support someone who would literally rep Yancey Street in the UFC? Let me know in the comment section down below, because if so, I will absolutely do that. Now, back on topic, let's talk about Hulk. Now, this Incredible Hulk run by Philip Kennedy Johnson has been a major part of my channel since it started. I covered it since its first issue. I haven't covered all of it, but I have done several videos on it, and I also have interviewed PKJ twice on the channel. And yes, when you interview someone, when you talk to someone and get to know them, you can form a bias. So today, I'm going to be very mindful of that and do my best to give my unbiased opinion on the Hulk run so far, because if you did not know, issue 30 led into Infernal Hulk, which is going to be insane. So let's talk about the run, the good, the bad, everything in between. Now, I will say, starting off, I thought the beginning started off very hot. Like, I think the way PKJ introduced Fractured Son, introduced Mother of Horrors conceptually, as well as Eldest, immediately made it a high stakes game, let it be known that, you know, this is someone that literally, even at one point, the one above all was paying attention to, as well as the one below all. So this is immediately, we're like, oh shit, this might be the craziest thing we've seen for Hulk. So I would say the way it comes in, fire. Like, just a really good intro. The side characters as well, particularly Charlie, I really enjoyed. Like, I think Charlie was well done as a side character, and I did care about Charlie at the start of the run and going into the run, the situation she came from, and ultimately how both Bruce and Hulk have grown to care about the child, right? Charlie's just a dope character. Moving on to the middle, unfortunately for me, started to peak in a bad way. And let me explain that, right? So, Mother of Horrors, Eldest, we're building up to. We want to see this conflict, and we do see Eldest conflict with Hulk a little bit, but the point I'm making with that is we want to see that build up, eventually getting to the climax, right? Well, it felt like, you know, with the infamous moment with the chains of the first firmament, Hulk breaking them, putting down Eldest, forcing Eldest to flee and have to find a new body, whatever, getting Charlie out of there. There seemed to be a real lull after that. Like, that's hype. It was a hype moment when he breaks out and actually pulls off putting her down temporarily. It's hype. But kind of felt like a lull after that. And some of this won't necessarily be attributed directly to the run, but the way Hulk was being used outside of the run was kind of sussy baka when it came to this shit, okay? Like, the way it was being used was just not cool. Buddy's been dropped off by a taser from Black Widow. The throwdown with he got pimp slapped at one point by Thanos, did spin the block on him later, but the way he's used outside of the run was hurting the aura of the run itself. I don't like how Marvel does that, so I just wanted to go ahead and throw that in there. Another thing that's very divisive, right? The use of original characters. A lot of people that have an issue with this Hulk run have an issue with original characters. I understand it. I would also like to give a counterpoint. I think OCs become a problem if there's too many. I'd be willing to concede PKJ's used a ton of OCs, so yeah, I can see why people would say there's too many, right? You want to see some established characters get in the mix and become relevant again, or become relevant to the story of Hulk. There is a lot of OCs, so if you don't like that, completely understand. In fact, I am not going to argue with you. Like, credit to you, that's a fair argument. I like some of the OCs. Eldest, dope villain. I like Eldest as a villain. Mother of Horrors as a concept, I like. Brother Deep as a concept, the false god concept, the false idol, the golden calf made true. Like, it's all that dope. Besides that, there's too many others. I mean, Charlie, technically, too. That's 5. But there's a ton more than that. And I didn't really care about the others. So it becomes a little... Eventually, you're like, I think if he had kept, like, those 5 I just mentioned, if he had kept those... And Kaido was pretty dope. Let me take that back. And Kaido as well in a flashback. So that's 6. But Kaido is really only used in a flashback. So you got those. Dope. Like, if he had just used those as the OCs, I think people that had a problem with how many OCs there were would be fine with that. Like, I think that's a perfect amount, in my opinion. It's almost like adding too much salt to the dish. That's just enough. That's still kind of pushing it, but that's just enough. And in my opinion, those 6 are really good. So keeping those would be fine. And then mixing in everything else with already established characters. Now, the one defense is this intent was early on established. Granted, like when I first interviewed BKJ, he said Marvel wants me to create and expand upon the bestiary for Hulk. That meaning the editorial specifically wanted OCs. They wanted original and new bestiaries for Hulk to contend with. You could take that and interpret it to mean, maybe you could also say he could add other bestiari that typically don't go against Hulk that now can. But regardless, easy to interpret that as, make up new shit for Hulk to beef with, which makes sense because Hulk usually kills stuff. But getting back to this, the middle, I think it lulled. That was my least favorite part of the run. We actually stopped covering around like 17, 18, 19. Picked up every now and then to talk about it, but coverage itself, I felt like the momentum actually got hurt by that climax of him breaking the chain, taking down Eldest. It felt like the story lulled a bit around that time. I want to hear what you think in the comment section about that, in particular about the tempo around the midpoint of this Incredible Hulk run. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Now, moving on towards the end of the run, right? And I got to touch on this before we truly cover the end. A lot of people had an issues with some of the retcons. Now, when I say retcons, it's things like how the One Below All truly came to exist, how the One Above All truly made him. Toa got hurt by Mother of Horrors. Everything used to be like within the design of Toa. Mother of Horrors is not. So there's a ton of things, and there's things people feel like go against Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk run, which a lot of people hold in high regard. It was explained, in my second interview that essentially a lot of the writings, a lot of the remembrances of Eldest, a lot of things are mortal comprehension or comprehension of beings that can't quite perceive what's actually going on. So it's left up to interpretation, sort of like the Bible is. But that bothers some people. It didn't bother me as much. Granted, I'm not someone who is as tied to Hulk in the sense of, like, I've seen Hulk change so much, even in the modern setting, everything from the Pack run to Ewing, to Starship Hulk, to now. Like, we've seen so many different things with Hulk in a very short amount of time that I'm kind of comfortable with Hulk changes. I don't really care. So I'm not as invested in it, but I've grown to understand and appreciate why people get upset with those retcons. In fact, I made a video on why I was wrong about the Hulk stuff. But moving on, the in-story self-soft retcons and things of that nature, weird. Like, it's just not a good look, bruv. Like, it's not a good look to a lot of people. I think it's what threw a lot of people off in the run. A lot of people were upset with it. And I think, again, that occurs actually towards the mid to later parts, which I reference, the tempo being a little issue, and the pacing being a little off, and it kind of lulls and it just feels anticlimactic for a bit. I think all those problems kind of accumulated and became most noticeable there, which kind of hurts the overall experience of the run. And then you get to the end, which, sort of like the beginning, I felt was fire. I felt the beginning of the run was very strong, drew you in. I feel the end of this this Incredible Hulk run leading into Infernal Hulk, was very strong. The pacing of the last few issues were fantastic, action-packed. You're immediately locked in because the stakes are high. Mother of Horrors can show up at any point. Eldest is involved again. Hulk is making a big play. Bruce is compromised. It's crazy. Like, it's a wild atmosphere the last few issues. And the last issue itself is crazy. I covered it in a video. You guys loved it. I think it was a fantastic way to conclude the Incredible Hulk run leading into Infernal Hulk. In fact, I know it broke back into the highest sales category just from that. Hopefully we'll see it pan out through the entirety of October if it can stay there, but it did very well in closing, which is impressive. And I know people specifically that are like, okay, I might have been turned off a little bit earlier in the run, but I'm willing to give Infernal Hulk a chance. This is kind of interesting. So I think it definitely bounced back and finished strong. So what would I give the run? I would definitely put it up there, the Incredible Hulk run, as one of my more favorite Hulk runs in my experience. I don't think Hulk has as crazy a selection of great stories as people make it out to be. He has some fun reads, but nothing too crazy. I hold the Pack run in high regard. I hold the Ewing run in high regard. PKJ, I don't have currently above those runs. I'd put them below that, but still one of the better Hulk runs we've definitely seen. Like, you compare it to something like Starship, it's not even close. Like, I think it's definitely a fun read, especially if you value the beginning and the end. It's easy to get them into it. They power through, get to the end, you're like, oh, this ending's a banger. So the way, with the run conclusively out now, leading into Infernal, you can kind of read it in its entirety, all 30, and be like, hey, that's a pretty good start, pretty good damn finish. You know, started with a good taste in your mouth, end with a good taste in your mouth. You're generally going to have a good idea and good take on that meal. So I'd say like a 6.5 to 7.5 out of 10. Really good. Had some strong OCs, but some of the strengths of the writing in the story and the story itself, and the art could get a little wonky sometimes, but some of the strengths could also be weaknesses at times. Perfect example, like the OCs. But overall, I do think it's an enjoyable run. I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying talking about it, making content on it, and it's a very dynamic in the way that it can change a lot about the Hulk experience conclusively in Marvel. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Was Incredible Hulk a bop? What would you rank it out of 10? Did you have fun watching this video? Let me know all of that in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I will cover the Doom comic as well and drop Marvel vs. Darkseid Part 2. But yeah, anyways, it's been your host, Dr. Splash. And remember, it's Yancey Street, bitches.